but real. I want to show you the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress, the website in California and many other states around the country are looking at their state test scores. In Illinois and Ohio, their public data came out maybe in the midsummer. I could be wrong, but I know that in school districts in the state of California, our data doesn't come out until mid-October, meaning public data. But when it does, you might have questions. So I'm going to show you how to use ChatGPT to maybe answer some of those questions. Now, if you're a principal or a teacher and you're thinking, I could use ChatGPT to answer some of those questions, maybe you're a community member or parent and you just want to know, let me show you how. Now I'm sharing my screen, and this that you're looking at, this is the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress. It'll take you, if you Google this, you go to just CASP results, it'll take you to, you can see the ELA and mathematics information, which this is where I am. Now, I'm not using California state data. I just decided I would choose an elementary school, similar to schools that I knew about in Illinois, even though I'm in California. And I chose Roosevelt Elementary, for example. This one happens to be in San Mateo. I do not work in that county, but this is their state data for an elementary school. And you might be thinking, I don't know what this means, and I don't even know where to start. Like, you have these 4 levels, and you have the number in the middle. Like, what does that mean? Now, there's some things you can do, and I'm going to, a second here, I'm going to copy it. My laptop is farther away than I want it to be. And what I'm going to do is just highlight this and copy it. And then what I'm going to do is go to ChatGPT, select, let me make this a little bit bigger, select the paperclip. I'm going to upload this from my computer. It's going to be on my desktop somewhere, and say, explain this information to me as a parent in the community. I am curious. Work with me so I can chat along with you. And I can't even see because I don't even know what I'm saying. Okay, now I can see it. And what I will do is I will make this slightly bigger so you can see it. Notice that the picture is here. And I asked it a question. Now, it doesn't care if you spell anything right, but you might want to. And I could give it more context, but I am curious on whether or not it will actually just figure out how to figure it out. So we're going to let that happen. And I do have a few screens opened up here. So this is what happens. So if you're curious, you're in California, you're thinking, I don't even know how to read this data. This is last year, well, the year before's data. The 23-24 data doesn't come out again until mid-October, but you just might be curious. But I do want to point something out, that this data is telling you some information. And sometimes we look at data and we get all worked up. Please don't. All schools are different, all students are different, and parents send their best children to school, so don't get worked up over it. But let's look at what ChatGPT said. It's telling you that the English language arts for this school, and even highlights the school here, this is at 67.37% of students that met or exceeded the standard. Well, we could verify that. Well, there it is. So it's basically telling you that these two are added together, and that's what it means. Then it tells you that 43.06 exceeded. This is a level 4, level 3 to 1, and you can kind of compare. Just take a brief look, and let's go back. Well, that looks like it's right. And then it did the same, I bet, for math. It did. So it kind of is, well, it perfectly gave me exactly what it said. And it explains to you that exceeding meaning more than half of the students are excelling in math, which is pretty strong. We want students in schools to be met or exceeded. And by 11th grade, we would love for them to be at exceeded, because we know that they're ready for a career or college, and they should be able to access knowledge. Now, it doesn't mean students can't access knowledge even if they didn't meet the standard. It just means they aren't necessarily at grade level. Now it's asking me other questions like, what stands out to you here in math? Any thoughts on the strengths or areas for improvement? Well, there are. I have questions and I could keep pushing and say, explain to me what I could do as a principal, as a teacher. Now, if I was a principal, this might, incite some questions about what professional development I could have. But what I would do now is there are other buttons I could push. I'm going to stay away from here, but I'm going to go to I like to really talk about math. I do like to talk about ELA, but I'm going to click on math. When I do this, you can do this for English as well here. It gives me all the grade levels separately and it gives me all grades together. So what you saw at the beginning, all of this information is all the grade levels together. This time it separates it. So there are some trends here. So if I wanted to, I could now grab it. I could now say I could grab all of it and I can't see it all, but I'm going to just grab this. I'm going to grab this. And what I'm basically doing, don't want that. Let's just upload it. Tell me about the trends comparing grade levels. Now, while it's doing that, I do want to point out something else for you. Now, I know it's a lot of information, but you can rewind if you're listening and walking around, you can always come back, watch the recording, and you can take some notes. You can download this and do it by student groups. You could download it and do it by economic status. And in that economic status, when I do this, what's nice about this view is when I apply, it gives me both of them. So I could open up and see the trends for economically disadvantaged. And then I could also open up the trend and see the economically advantaged. Like that's a big difference. And I can see that visually. Now I'm going to go back to all students for the sake of this video, but there is a good conversation there. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is, now this is the same information, by the way, as this, just so you know. So if I wanted to, I could take this information. Now let's go see what it said though, because what's nice. Look at the bar graph for mathematics achievement level distribution across the different grade levels or grades. We can break down the trends. Okay. Red, it's telling you some things. Red, standard not met. Yellow, nearly met. Met. Green and blue exceeded. Now, here are some observations. This is what ChatGPT said, and this would be some great dialogue if you have a group of people that you want to talk to about this, maybe teachers, in your site. You can say, okay, so grade levels, grade 3, a significant portion of students are exceeded. A similar percentage fall into standard nearly met or standard not met. So that's a conversation. So it didn't really talk about I can kind of see it here. So you can see that the green area, you have a lot of students that really get it. And then here I have some students that are probably will need some support or intervention. That's what I'm seeing. Same with grade 4. And then grade 5, there is an increase in students exceeding the standard compared to grade 4. So there is a trend here. Like you can see that something happened. Like whatever is happening in grade 5, they're able to take these students and increase. Now, the standards are slightly different, so you don't want to beat up teachers over this. You just want to say, what's happening? What did you do to increase and improve these students? And what happened here? Maybe the students didn't eat that day. Maybe they were sleepy that day. It could be a little tweak. Sometimes we think it's their learning. Sometimes they had a bad morning, things like that. Sometimes we have to be very cognizant of what we decide is happening. And maybe maybe the student was ill that day. Maybe they didn't finish the test. There's a lot of factors and variables we don't want to guess, but it's a conversation that the school could have. Like, I don't want to guess for the school, but it's giving me what it thinks. And then some other trends here. Now let's throw in that other visual that looks somewhat like it's basically the numbers. And I'm going to say here are the numbers to the last visual graph. Tell me more. Interesting, right? Tell me more. So now it's giving me the numbers. It's giving me the mean score, the number of tested students for each area, and certainly as a conversation. But I wanted to point out that most of the time, schools will start here and stop here and not continue the conversation. And I want to push you a little bit if you are looking at this data to start talking. I also want to tell you to please don't start putting people down. Have conversations on how we can improve and how you can get better, because not every group of students is the same, and not every year is the same. So we have to be very aware of that. But we can always do things differently and improve, and maybe integrate growth mindset and things like that. So let's go back to this data, and I want to go down here. And this time, I want you to really see this. There is a difference between this, the overall achievement. This is called the achievement levels, and these are called the performance areas. And you're thinking, I still don't get it. Well, I'm going to show you something. This is the sample that you can Google. You can get a sample Smarter Balance Assessment student score report. And what it does is it gives you these areas and it gives you definition. So it tells you that this is the student that receives an overall score and an achievement level. Then it tells you that there are performance areas. So for this student got a level 3 and then has two groups of performance areas. Reading, listening, writing, and research also are separate for things. But then this year, the student score report has added these in, I think they are, I can't think of the name, but I know that they're grouped together, and we're just gonna go with it. They're grouped together at this point. So we have very specific claims or performance areas, and then we have them in groups. So this is ELA, and then we also have that for math here. So for math, you see concepts and procedures and mathematical practices. I believe it probably will look slightly different when this is published for the 23-24 school year, but again, we don't know yet because we can't see it. But what you can see is that it does say concepts and procedures here. This is for the school site, the whole school. And then you see that here, and then the mathematical practices. So we're going to assume, well, we know that these are the mathematical practices, because if you're a teacher, you know that these are the areas that are the thinking behind the math. So problem solving and modeling and data analysis, like how well can students show and apply their problem solving skills? And then communicating and reasoning, how well can students think logically and express their thoughts in order to solve a problem? Now, again, I know I'm giving you a whole lot of information, so breathe. You can pause it, you can come back, take notes. But what I want to do, I'm going to slightly move this forward so I can reach it, is this time I'm going to take a screenshot. And what I want to do is I am going to ask ChatGPT, create a line graph of the above standard for the 3 claim areas. Show this trend and create a CSV file. Why am I doing this? Because I want to see if I can see a visual. Like I can see this clearly. Like I can see that this is different. There's 3 levels that for above standard for grade 3, 4, and 5, that a lot of the students do very well in concepts and procedures. How well do students use mathematical rules and ideas, like adding and subtracting, dividing, multiplying, operations and algebraic equations, looking at geometric figures, and I'm thinking elementary right now, And can they solve for an equation? Can they see an equation? Can they come up with the formula, like for area? And then how are they using their skills to reason and problem solve and model the math? There is a difference. So let's see what ChatGPT did. Okay. I really like this because it did what I asked it to do. So let's expand this so we can really see it. So concepts and procedures, third grade, way up here, above 55%. Let's go here and look. Concepts and procedures, 58%, 47.83 and 49.606. So what we're showing is that concepts and procedures pretty high in grade 3, but it goes down slightly. And then you also can see that let's see, communicating and reasoning, all of these areas are very high in third grade, but they dip. And then in fifth grade, communicating and reasoning has a huge dip. So when I'm looking at communicating and reasoning here, now I can see that visually. And, as a fifth grade teacher or principal, like what's going on? Maybe we need to look at the state standards. Like, what are we missing? What's the thinking here? And are they able to communicate what they're trying to say? Like, can they write this? This is where ELA comes in very well, or language. Like, can they write and express how they are thinking logically, and put their thoughts down to solve this problem? Like, it's kind of mind blowing, which is very intriguing because if I did this for the state of California, it's slightly different. And in another video, I will go over what this looks like from the state standards perspective and how the framework for mathematics works alongside this. So this is just an area that I wanted you to see. And you can also, I will not expand that anymore, but if I wanted to download this as a CSV file, automatically, what's beautiful about this is I just downloaded it. And let's say that I don't want you here anymore. I'm going to click on it so it can go away. So let's go to my Google Sheets, and we're clicking on a Google Sheet. We're going to open up a new Google Sheet. And I know that typically we download, like I could have uploaded that into a Google folder, but this time I'm just going to select import. I'm going to find where I downloaded this. I'm going to browse my computer. There's my CSV file. I'm going to open it, and it's only going to give me the above standard here, which is fine because that's all I asked for. So there it is. The difference is I don't see percent, so I don't know if that would work. It won't. So I just will have to go with that right now, or I would have to manually put that in. But I can at least put these in decimal form. I can do that. But it's a nice spreadsheet, and this is the area where I can have a conversation, like only in fourth grade, 26% of the students for problem solving and modeling and communicating and reasoning for fourth grade. Like this, they start to half it, and then it goes down as we get to fifth grade. So these are just some fun things that I feel like are really helpful when you are looking at the Smarter Balance assessment. And one last thing is I'm going to take that student score report that I downloaded here, and this was the student score report that I showed you that was here. And so I uploaded it, and I can ask, looking at just the example student score report, mathematics page, how does this relate? And how could I help this student and grade level teacher inform and discuss how to improve. And I don't know that I would say that. I would just say, what are your thoughts maybe with the teacher? What could we do differently? And why do you think this happened? And just so that sometimes we have to own what happened and intervene and accelerate. So it gives me a little bit about the student here. You can see her score history from grade 3 to 5. So let's go look. We get the score history from grade 3 to 5. So clearly this student improved. Again, this is a student sample. So this student improved. And then the performance areas are near standard for concepts and procedures and mathematical practices, near standard. So it gives you some information. From our earlier graph and breakdown of grade level performance, we saw that for grade 5, the number of students who exceeded the standard was around 49%, while 22% did not meet the standard. Jenny's score indicates that she is right in the middle, meeting the standard, but with room for improvement, especially in concepts and procedures and mathematical practices. So, for the student, it gives you some highlights on focusing on strengthening these two areas, and then work on applying mathematical strategies to complex problems and explaining reasoning. And then for the grade level teacher, data-driven discussions, like putting the data in front of the teachers, like, tell me about this. Sometimes we think that data is telling on you or something or putting you down. It's just giving you information and what can you do with that. And then focus support, group students like Jenny, or a near standard for targeted small group intervention. Tier 1, give them all what they need. And then those who need specific interventions for a specific standard or mathematical practices, that's really good. It's okay to do heterogeneous, meaning all the students at once, or mix students together so they can talk and dialogue, because when we're teaching, we do a lot of the learning, but when students are teaching each other, they do a lot of the learning too. And then this parent-teacher discussion, I didn't ask for that, but I'll take it. Review Jenny's specific area of need based on history, ask about extra resources, practice materials. Like the parent could ask the teacher this. Teachers, I don't know that we should be telling the parents to go tutor, go send your kid to tutoring. We can figure this out. If they can, that's up to them. Discuss ways to make learning more engaging. When learning is fun and exciting, students will take that on and love it. So these just some fun things that I like to do with the data, and especially if it's public data, it doesn't matter what public data is, throw it into ChatGPT and say, explain this. So I do hope this was helpful for you. I hope that you will come back. Quick evening conversation. And what's great about AI, it's like magic, but real. So have a great evening, and be sure to come back. And I'm definitely going to end this and look forward to having some